So the final trailer for Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, has finally dropped, as of like 2 weeks ago, which has given me plenty of time to dismember, dissect, and reassemble all footage revealed in this latest trailer. Welcome to the Fourth Wall, where we bring you movie news, movie reviews, and trailer breakdowns from a galaxy far, far away. So today, I'm going to break down everything this last trailer has to offer, with a hearty portion of speculation and plenty of bad theories, which will likely turn out to be nothing more than a steaming load of bantha poodoo. But we're doing it anyway. Oh, and spoiler warning on the off chance I'm anywhere remotely close to accurate on any of my predictions. As the trailer starts, we hear an ambiance of various creatures in the jungle as the Lucasfilm logo appears. Nothing much, right? But is that a TIE fighter I hear in the background just before the action begins? Rey bursts onto the scene, presumably dropping a helmet of some kind. This helmet looks oddly familiar, with a color scheme resembling the helmets of the Rebel fighters in A New Hope. However, there appears to be a visor that blocks vision, similar to the one that Luke trained with in A New Hope. In fact, we see one of those same training remote droids following Rey as another blasts at her from off-camera. This obviously implies that Rey is on some jungle planet, maybe even Yavin 4 from A New Hope, or even Endor from The Return of the Jedi. Rey is clearly in the middle of her Jedi training, but with who? Leia? Force Ghost Luke? Maybe even Kylo Ren, the Jedi formerly known as Ben Solo, though that seems like a stretch. Of course, Rey's lightsaber, or should I say the Skywalker lightsaber, has been repaired. Since the last time we saw it, it was ripped in half by Kylo and Rey after the attack on Supreme Leader Snoke, who was also ripped in half. Coincidence? But why is Rey running through the jungle in the middle of her Jedi training? Well, we all know how much Rey enjoys a good Force vision. Maybe while opening herself to the influence of the Force, she saw more visions of her past or even her future. Or maybe she was just Force timing with a steamy Kylo again. Whatever it was, it caused her to run pell-mell into an unknown jungle. The next couple of shots show her running through the jungle. At her side, you see the blaster pistol that Han gave her in The Force Awakens. But we can't make out whether the lightsaber is ignited in this clip. In the shot where Rey jumps over the canyon, we actually see the lightsaber handle at her right side, though in the previous shot and in all previous films, she's worn the blaster on her right side. Which leads me to believe that this shot was reversed for the trailer, so instead of running left to right, she should be running right to left. Is this important? Probably not, but I just wanted to point it out anyway. In the next shot, we see Rey land on the wreckage of what looks to be one of the Death Stars, looking at the camera in shock as she realizes that she's jumped to a different planet. I'm very interested to see how this new Force jumping ability will establish fast travel within the Star Wars universe. But all kidding aside, Rey is alone in this shot, as she is in many of the shots in this trailer. So what led her away from the Resistance that she just reunited with at the end of the last film? I don't know the answer, but it certainly begs asking. Next, we see our first shot of Finn as he looks through what appears to be an iPhone 11 Pro. Behind him, we can see low-growing foliage, very similar to the foliage growing in the background of pictures released of the new character Jannah, played by Naomi Ackie. Not much is known about Jannah, but we will see her later in this trailer. There's a sweeping shot of Rey running along the ridge of a jungle paradise. She has her lightsaber ignited here, indicating that she is being pursued, or at least expects attack. Not much can be seen in this jungle landscape, though there appears to be some kind of structure on top of the hill in the upper right-hand corner. Our next few shots are very different. In this first shot, we see a gathering of Resistance fighters, including the returning Lando Calrissian, played once again by Billy D. Williams. C-3PO, Poe, Finn, Chewbacca, and even Admiral Akbar's son Aftab make appearances. We're not exactly sure where this hangar is, but just outside the hangar door we can see ferns growing. So maybe this is on that same jungle planet we saw earlier, though we really don't see any other vegetation. One other thing of note in the shot is that everyone here is in combat uniforms. So either this is the rally right before a battle, or this is the fallout after a serious thrashing at the hands of the First Order. Some of the resistance fighters even seem to be comforting each other, as if they had just suffered a loss. We also hear Poe talking about leading the resistance, leading me to believe that he will take up the mantle as the leader of the resistance in the final battles against the First Order. Next up, we see Rose in the forefront of a shot of resistance fighters running back to a hangar of some kind. This shot seems to match up with shots later in this trailer, in particular with shots of Finn and Jannah riding horse-like creatures on the hull of a Star Destroyer as the battle rages around them. Note the horse-like creature on Rose's right. Behind her, you can see actor Dominic Monaghan of Lord of the Rings fame in his as-yet unnamed role as a resistance fighter, along with Billie Lourd reprising her role as Lieutenant Connix. This shot of Rose and the gang leads me to believe that she will be making her daring attempt to escape the friend zone, a feat previously only attempted by Anakin Skywalker, and see where that landed him? Next up, a shot of Poe, Finn, and Chewie on the jungle planet dramatically turning to see something or someone. Now, I know I'm not necessarily the first to point this out, but Poe is wearing a black cloth tied around his arm as he was in the previous scene with the resistance fighters. Many suspect this is to memorialize the death of Princess-turned-General Leia, which actually could be why we saw all those resistance fighters together consoling each other on a jungle planet, which we've seen shots of Leia on in previous trailers, as well as later on in this one. We then see a Corvette flying overhead on the jungle planet we keep seeing in this trailer. I think this is Leia's ship, as it is very similar model to the ship that we first saw Leia on in A New Hope all those years ago. In our next shot, we see Rey atop the wreckage of what could either be a Star Destroyer or a Death Star. The ocean around her seems to imply that this is Kef Bir, an ocean moon that is believed to hold remains of the Death Star 2, and just so happens to be the homeworld of Jannah, a new character we've discussed earlier, and who we'll see later in this video. We get some edgy dialogue with Rey claiming that people keep telling me they know me. No one does. To which Kylo responds, "But I do." In a truly epic shot of Kylo pulling an Aquaman as he walks through the ocean spray, his lightsaber ignited. I love the way you see the glow of the blade before you see Kylo. Some truly impressive visual effects here. Next up, we see a whole ton of TIE fighters, approaching what I thought at first glance was a massive iceberg. However, there's no reflection of the TIE fighters flying over water, and what I thought was a reflection of the ice doesn't line up with the top. So this must be some floating ice base, as we can see buildings and even smoke coming from the left side of the asteroid. I wonder if this is an old Imperial Star Destroyer frozen in the outer reaches of the galaxy. Or maybe these are early access photos of next year's Disney on Ice. An impressive black stone throne with ominous lightning flashing in the background. This black throne with jutting black spikes actually harkens back to early concept art for Return of the Jedi by Ralph McQuarrie. The rising Star Destroyer from the frozen ocean, along with flashing lightning and foreboding voiceover by Ian McDiarmid's iconic Emperor Palpatine, makes for a truly impressive shot. In this next shot, we've got some ships. Like, a lot of ships. Like, so many ships. So, moving on to the next shot. Our next shot gives us a look at the whole gang together again in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. Chewie and Rey are piloting the iconic ship, with Finn, Poe, and C-3PO coming in to join. Points for Poe's Nathan Drake cosplay, by the way. Next, there's more of Rey and Kylo on the remains of the Death Star, locked in an epic duel. There's a huge explosion, with what looks to be an Imperial Star Destroyer in the foreground. We'll come back to this later. In the following shot, we see a skiff of some kind skimming atop the rolling waves before giving way to a shot of the Death Star laser dish. It's hard to make out, but I think this is Finn coming to Rey's rescue, as we'll see later on in this trailer. This next sequence shows us our first interaction with some of our favorite characters. We see our heroes dressed in heavy coats, implying they are on some frozen planet. We also get our first look at Zori Bliss on the left, Kerry Russell's character, who is believed to join up with the Resistance fighters in its final stand. We know that Zori lives on Kijimi, a snowy, rocky planet, also home to the Thieves' Quarter. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be, but it definitely sounds like a fun, if dangerous, place. There was a small alien in Anzelin droid master named Babu Frick, if anyone was wondering, who seems to be working on 3PO's brain, hooking him up with a whole set of wires. We know that Babu Frick is a friend of Zori Bliss. There are parts of dismantled droids of all sorts strewn throughout the workshop, including a B-1 battle droid from the days of the Separatist attacks. We also get our first clip of D-0, a new droid joining BB-8 and the rest of the gang. Poe asks C-3PO what he's doing, which is a fair question if you ask me. 3PO makes an ominous statement about taking one last look at his friends. Does this mean he's going to die in this film? Or have his memory erased? Or maybe you're like me and think that he'll end up getting his consciousness uploaded into a ship of some kind. Similar to how L-337 was uploaded to the Millennium Falcon in Solo, a Star Wars story. But what ship, and why try such a risky operation with a staple character? And will it work? Well, we'll just have to wait a couple of months to find out. Next up, we're served a series of captivating shots. First, there's a great swell in the iconic score as we see an epic clip of Finn, Poe, and Chewie charging down the hull of the First Order Star Destroyer, blasting stormtroopers left and right. There's a heart-tugging clip of Rey and Leia embracing, likely for the last time as Rey sheds a tear in farewell. Note again the jungle planet, likely the same seen earlier. We see a desert planet, likely Pasana, a new desert world being introduced in this film. Little is known about Pasana as of right now, but we can clearly see our heroes being chased by First Order speeders as they flee in some sort of speeder themselves. BB-8 seems to save the day by puncturing some kind of tank filled with pressurized turmeric. We see a couple shots of our heroes celebrating, including a much better look at Lando Calrissian flying his ship with Chewie. Yeah, I said his ship. Fight me. There's a quick shot of Resistance Y-Wings taking on a massive Imperial Star Destroyer. Notice a massive laser cannon attached to the underside of the Star Destroyer, leading me to think that this is some sort of upgraded Death Star laser with a massive explosion we saw earlier showcasing its power on a planet or moon or a large ship of some kind. The final setup shot leaves us with a lot to look forward to. First up, we see a shot of Resistance fighters riding on more of those horse-like creatures, led by Finn and Jannah, with BB-8 once again coming along for the assist. We see them later on running on top of what looks like the hull of a Star Destroyer as the battle rages around them, making for a pretty impressive shot. We get another shot of the Death Star 2, this time with Rey and Kylo in the Emperor's old throne room, before getting a shot of Finn running along the top of the wreckage, presumably yelling Rey's name. This leads me to think that he has followed Rey here to try and help her, but really just get in her way. The next shot we get is a strange one, and very short. In a pristine setting, we see Kylo and Rey working together to destroy a podium or relic of some kind. The white setting seems to imply neither Imperial nor First Order design, so maybe this is a Resistance base, or even Cloud City? At first glance, it appears to be Darth Vader's helmet on top. Though, why are they destroying these remains? We can also see a Rey holding a dagger of some kind in her left hand, leading some to believe that this could be the dagger of Mortis, appearing first in the Clone Wars, with the Force-wielding father, son, and daughter. It's a whole thing, though it really doesn't bear much resemblance to the dagger. Also, this is the first shot and only shot we see of Kylo wearing his mask again, after repairing it after his last tantrum. We get a quick shot of Finn, Poe, and 3PO exploring a cave of some kind, which 3PO provides the light for. After which we get a sprawling visual of those same Resistance fighters on the horse-like things charging ahead while an epic space battle rages around them. There are a bunch of Star Destroyers here with loads of TIE fighters before a B-Wing and an X-Wing quickly give pursuit. Notice the lightning flashing around, similar to other shots in this trailer, alluding perhaps to the rise of Palpatine and his fleet of Imperial ships. Next shot shows a grave Kylo, without his mask once again, with a strange light on his face. Notice again the lightning flashes in the shot. He seems to be making a hard choice, maybe even the last choice he'll ever make, before stepping forward to claim his destiny. And in this next shot, notice the fear on Rey's face as she confronts what can only be the Emperor reborn, though in some sort of mechanical chair, leading me to believe he may look more like Davros, the creator of the Daleks in Doctor Who, as opposed to the Emperor we once were familiar with. In this last shot, we see Rey with her lightsaber ignited by her face, flashing lightning around her. Again, Force Storm, maybe? As we hear the classic mantra of the Jedi, here given by both Luke and Leia, and a fitting end to an epic trailer. But those are just some of my thoughts. What do you think? Do you think I'm close or way off base? I mean, you've had 2 weeks to watch the trailer too, so clearly you must have some thoughts. If you do, leave them in the comment section below. And be sure to like and subscribe to our videos. We really appreciate the help. But just be sure, come December 20th, that we'll see you at the movies.